The Seiko 5 SNK809 Military may be the most pain-free and rewarding way to get into mechanical watches for well under $100. If this watch is going to be your entry into the mechanical realm, you do well to understand its interesting history, its design specifications, and what makes this watch a good entry-level watch, and how its strengths and limitations may influence your trajectory as you go further into this wonderful hobby. The Seiko 5 line traces its roots back to 1963 with the introduction of the Seiko Sportsmatic 5. This watch was further refined in 1968 with the Sports 5 line, and this line introduced many of the key features that make Seiko 5s distinctive even to this day. The bold Seiko 5 applied to the dial is a nod to the historical qualities of the Seiko 5 line that make them both robust and versatile. Historically, Seiko 5s had an automatic movement, a day and date aperture, a certain degree of water resistance so that the watch could be used in sporting applications, and it featured a recessed crown, often at 5 o'clock. It also would feature a tough case or bracelet, as in this watch, which is made out of stainless steel. These days, the Seiko 5 line has exploded to a huge variety of models, and you do sometimes see watches that don't have the distinctive crown that's recessed, in this case at the 4 o'clock position. The SNK809 is also a more historically sized watch, that is to say that it comes in a little bit smaller size of 37 millimeters, and it has 18 millimeter lugs. At about 11 millimeters thick, it's very skinny on the wrist for an automatic movement. There's no extra space given to the case just for show. Although historically accurate, the 18mm wide lugs is for me probably the biggest stumbling block of the watch. It's a fairly thin strap on the wrist, and your strap options are somewhat limited. It is a robust strap made out of fabric, but it is very primitive, not very comfortable, and is made in China. Now, this is a strap that I would probably immediately replace with a more refined NATO. Thanks to a precisely machined nail nick on the back of the case, the tiny crown is actually not that hard to bring out to its various positions to adjust the watch. First position adjusts both the day and date aperture. Rotating it one direction rotates the date wheel, and rotating it the other direction rotates the day wheel. And as you can see, it does come in a couple different languages on that day wheel. Now, if you bring it out to yet another position, you're able to then adjust the time. One well-known limitation of the 7S26 movement is that it neither hacks nor hand winds. Hacking, of course, is a feature for precise time setting, and hand winding is a feature that allows you to wind the watch even when you're not wearing it. This is a watch that needs to be worn on the wrist if the movement is going to be able to maintain its roughly 40-hour power reserve. One feature surely to satiate the curiosity of a new automatic watch fan is a display caseback, and the 7S26 movement fits in nicely with the display caseback on the back of this SNK809. Of course, this movement has about the same level of finishing as your average washing machine, so there isn't a huge amount of visual appeal in the movement. But that's something you really wouldn't want to get hung up on this watch. The allure of this watch, with its fine sweeping seconds hand and the way that it comfortably sits on your wrist, silently sweeping away with no tick of that quartz movement, is that you have a proven engineered machine powering a timepiece that will serve you as long as you choose to wear it. No need to replace the batteries on this one. And on the wrist, it really is quite versatile. I've become quite sympathetic to the smaller sizes, as my subscribers know, and this is a watch that works in a huge variety of circumstances. On my 7¼ inch wrist, it's thin enough to easily fit under a cuff, yet it has enough rugged characteristics thanks to its number of military themes to work in a lot more casual situations. Let's take a closer look at the dial design on this SNK809. It's called the Military Seiko 5 or the Little Flieger Seiko 5, thanks to its historic nod to field or military watches. Now, of course, the main features defining this dial are the concentric minute and hour indices, which are, of course, in Arabics at every 5 minutes. This is a study in restrained typesetting. The watch just has a very harmonious feel. Even with the day and date aperture, thanks to the black wheels and the white printing, the watch's overall military feel are not disrupted, even considering that it doesn't have the traditional hand-wound movement that you would have found in the Fliegers. Of course, it does have the triangle that is a nod to the old Fliegers, and it does feature the very impressive sword hands and reverse lollipop seconds hand, which particularly make this watch have a masculine, aggressive feel, in my opinion. I really like the little bit of red too. Definitely makes the whole package pop just a little bit. Works very well with that applied Seiko 5 logo as well at 12 o'clock. Thankfully, both the dial and the hands are loomed with the same Lume Bright loom, and it glows very consistently. It's not the brightest Seiko loom that I've seen, but it's definitely more than satisfactory. All told, the SNK809 is just a very solid military-style automatic available at a price that pretty much no one else can compete with. In my experience, Seiko's blasted cases and their Hardlex, which is basically a proprietary mineral crystal, are very resistant to wear. If you don't like the size of the SNK809, there's always the SNZ G15J1 or the SNK809, respectively at 42 and 38 millimeters. And make sure you check out my reviews on these two watches if you haven't already. But if you're new to watches, my advice about size is don't worry about it. Find a watch that appeals to you visually and is at a price range that is easily accessible to you, and then you'll get used to wearing that watch on your wrists, and the size on paper isn't going to matter as much because you'll be used to the size. These days I've become a little bit less of a stickler as far as size goes because I believe that if you really like a watch, if it's comfortable on your wrist, the actual size isn't going to matter to you. For this review, I've partnered with Massdrop, who have given me this SNK809 for review. I highly recommend getting in on the current drop that's available on Massdrop for an excellent price and a wide variety of different colorways for this model if you're interested in purchasing this model. And the link, of course, is going to be available for that down in the description. As far as the SNK809 goes, it was really just a matter of time for me to feature it on the channel. It's easily the most requested watch I have for reviews, and it's really understandable. This is a tastefully designed, reliable automatic watch that you can get for well under $100. There's a lot going for it, and the smaller sizes actually mean it's going to be versatile on a variety of wrists, both for men and for women. I, for one, have warmed up a lot to the watch since I've had it. It is definitely something that I'm happy to recommend and is overall an impressive military watch, especially for the price. Do you have a recommendation for a first automatic watch? Please let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel here, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And if you enjoyed this review, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. As always, thanks a lot for your time.